There are many points to discuss, to cover when talking about healing, and today's subject is how to heal ourselves and others. This experience today, I don't want to say discourse because it will have many techniques also, is based on the teachings of Paramhansa Yogananda and based on the teachings of yoga. And one central tenet of yoga is that it offers us methods, techniques, things that we can practice, experiment with, and then find out if they work for us. Bharat, maybe it can be a little less loud. There's a little bit of feedback. So, what we want to be sure of is that we have techniques, things we can practice, again, things we can experiment with and find out, are these techniques working for us? So, I'd like to invite us to do the first of these techniques, and it's based on the central teaching of today. If you don't remember anything else from today, remember this one thought, that healing is based on energy. Energy, prana, is the secret to everything, no matter what method of cure we use, and there are many, including medicines, including diet, exercise, all kinds of things, but still, it depends on strengthening the flow of energy in the body. And rather than talk to you about that, I'd like to give you an experience of that, and rather invite my friend Rajesh to lead us in an experience of that. You'll have to be a little creative in how you practice this, given that the room is so full, but we'll do our best. So, Rajesh.
Hello everyone. This exercise that we are about to do is called Superconscious Living Exercises, given to us by Swami Kriyananda ji. And let us dive into the practice right away. And I'm going to ask you a difficult thing to do. Please all stand up. And these exercises, there are 6 of it. And each exercise goes with an affirmation, which is an intention of us to raise the energy while doing the exercises. So the first one is walking in place, and the affirmation together with it is I am awake and ready. So we'll be saying that aloud while walking in place. Okay? So we'll begin. I am awake and ready. 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 Okay. The second one is fun. So this goes like, I'll demonstrate once, you can watch and then do it. This has to be like, you'll have to be very cautious, your neighbors. So let's do it. Goes like this. I am positive. I'm energetic. I'm enthusiastic. Okay? So let's begin. I am positive, energetic, enthusiastic. 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 Once more. I am positive, energetic, enthusiastic. Okay, that was fun. Third one is, we'll take the fist of a hand and then tap on the other arm. Okay. I am master of my body. I am master of myself. I am master of my body. I am master of myself. I am master of my body. I am master of myself. I am master of my body. I am master of myself. I am master of my body. I am master of myself. Once more. I am master of my body. I am master of myself. Okay. The next one is similar. We'll be rubbing our whole body. Okay. And we'll say, awake, rejoice my body cells. 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 Once more. My body cells. Awake, rejoice my body cells. Thank you. Two more to go. So the next one is tapping your head. And we are going to say, be glad my brain, be wise and strong. 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 Be glad, my brain, be wise and strong. Once more. Be glad, my brain, be wise and strong. Thank you. The next one is similar. We are going to move the scalp, not just the hair, not the whole scalp, and then we are going to say, awake, my sleeping saint, wake. 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 Once more, awake, my sleeping saint, wake. Thank you. Thank you. That was fun.
Please be seated. Thank you all. What an enthusiastic group. Do you notice any difference in how you are feeling? I can tell you there's a difference in how everybody is looking. The eyes more awake, more teeth are showing. The idli and vada from before are slowly being forgotten. And you see, this exercise of raising energy took maybe 45 seconds. And so the next time we're sitting kind of, I'm tired and nothing can be done about it, which we get into these moods, just remember these exercises. In fact, we'll be emailing you. If you've given your email address in the front, we'll be emailing you all the different techniques that we'll be sharing today. So make sure you give your address, or if you don't have an address, maybe you know someone with an address. You give their address and they'll benefit too, and then they'll send it to you or print it for you. So remember this experience of before and after. How just a little bit of movement and affirmation can raise the energy flow. We'll be talking about this and doing more of this throughout this afternoon. Another technique that's very helpful for getting energy to flow is chanting. Yogananda said, on the spiritual path, chanting is half the battle. One reason I think he said that is because, as many of you are aware, there are flows of energy in the spine. And there are chakras or gates, openings in the spine. And so when the energy is, when these chakras are opened, the energy can flow well, heal the body, keep the mind positive. When they are closed, then there's a block to that flow. And so one of the central chakras is the heart chakra. Now, whether you've heard of all this before or whether you haven't, we all know that when our heart is closed, it's hard to function. We may have been in survival mode. We may have gone into warrior mode and covered the heart with a nice thick sheet of armor, and so that we can go on without feeling. But we can't do that forever, because it chokes the energy flow. And so once we're in a safe place, and this room is a safe place, warm but safe, then we can relax and just let that heart be open. And an easy way to do that is through chanting. So Yoganandaji wrote some chants, some very simple word phrases. We'll put the words up here on the screen, accompanying music. And every chant that he wrote, he said he chanted until he went into samadhi. He said he spiritualized these chants by singing them until they drew a response from God, just as places acquire vibration according to the people who have been in them. Even songs acquire a vibration if they've been sung by devotion by a great saint. Obviously, we know that's true also with mantras. So many thousands of years, for example, Gayatri mantra has been chanted, and it acquires power also from that in itself, in addition to the power that it has inherently. So the same thing with these chants. Let's see, I think we are almost out of room, but there is still a few holes here. If anybody wants to come forward, you could then sit. Yeah, please do come. We're sorry, this was the biggest room we could find. So join me now as we chant this song. The words are very simple. From joy I came, for joy I live. In sacred joy I melt again. These are words from a poem of Yoganandaji's, and that phrase was actually taken from the Vedas. For joy I came, let's say that together. From joy I came, for joy I live, in sacred joy I melt again. Wonderful. So this is the melody. Let's sing that melody together. First I'll sing it. From joy I came, for joy I Let's take the energy of this chanting into a short meditation. Let's try to sit up straight with our backs away from the back of the chair if you have a chair. If you're standing, just try to stand straight with your arms to your sides. Roll the shoulders back, keep them relaxed. Make sure your chin is parallel to the ground. The palms are facing upward at the junction of thighs and abdomen. And let us inhale and tense the body, and then throw the breath out and relax. Let's do this again. Inhale, tense. Exhale, relax. One more time. Now take a deep breath in and out through the nose. And now watch the breath without controlling it. Just breathe normally, but try to concentrate on the flow of breath. Notice when your breath is moving in and out. Try also to keep your eyes gently uplifted, just a little bit, not enough to cause any pain or discomfort. If you were looking at the rising sun just above the horizon, try to concentrate on that flow of breath and try to feel relaxation. Try to feel even peace entering your heart. We'll meditate for just a few minutes. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. One microphone is for the recording. That's you may think one microphone should be plenty, but it is. But this other one is for the recording. That's why. So, I hope that these experiences left you with something. You see, first we brought the energy up, then we brought it inward, and then we also tried to focus it, concentrate it in the brain, in the Agya chakra, but also in trying to feel stillness and relaxation. You see, when we come to the subject of physical healing, it's a little bit complicated. I should say the subject of healing, because in fact the subject is healing. So often when we think healing, we associate it with physical healing. What's difficult in addressing the subject broadly is that people come from this to this subject from various different directions. So someone who is always well will have a certain perspective. Someone who has been chronically unwell, despite every possible attempt, will have a different perspective. And so I'll try to address these as best I can, but that's another reason why I'm taking the safe route of resorting to the techniques of yoga, because these techniques will take everyone, wherever they are, forward. And that's the wonderful thing about them, is that though they are very simple and universal in the sense that, for example, if we practice a technique of meditation like we were just doing, watching the breath without controlling it, everyone will practice that technique more or less the same, but each one's experience will be different. Some will see light, some will hear sound, some will not hear or see anything, but you'll feel better. And that, of course, is really what we're looking for, ways to feel better, and not just to go back to zero. Yoganandaji said, health is not the state of being disease-free. It is not an easygoing existence. We want more than just the absence of illness. We want radiant well-being. Now, one thing to keep in mind with that is that because we associate it with the body, that at first, it's because the body is so clearly familiar to us. It is this thing that sometimes we even think that we are. We have to remember that when we were born into this body, it was very new to us. There was a friend of ours who had a son, and then a new baby brother came into the family, was born. And so the 5-year-old boy was, he was a little bit of a rascal, and so he wouldn't hurt the baby, but he would play and be sort of high energy around the baby, and the parents were making sure that he was gentle with his brother. And then once he said to his mother, "I would like to speak to my brother alone, please." And so she said, "Okay." And so he went into his brother's room, and he closed the door, but she was peeking through the door. And the little boy went up to his brother and he said, "Remind me of where we came from, because I'm starting to forget." You see, he had that sense that I remember coming from somewhere and you just arrived. So tell me about it. But you see, we get into these bodies and we get these names and we start to associate that this is who I really am. This is my PAN card number. This is my Aadhaar number. It is linked to my mobile. All these things we start to think of as our reality, that this is who we are. And so the body, of course, is very imposing on our sense of identity. Now, I said also in the subject of physical health, yes, it is very important to have a proper diet as best as you can to support that. It facilitates health. We're going to be talking about other things primarily, only because there is so much written on diet. In one sense, the whole sense of Ayurveda is towards the eating of more sattvic foods, also foods that give energy. It's a very important subject, but I'd like to share with you some additional techniques today. Another is to get plenty of exercise, and we all know it. We all know we should do it. Yoganandaji said that you should every day exercise long enough to break a sweat. Now, of course, in Chennai, that is easy. I can break a sweat even without exercising. But the idea was that we should exert ourselves to get the blood circulation flowing. It clears out impurities. So even we'll share some yogic exercises with you, even the ones we did today, a little bit of movement. You see, doctors sometimes used to say that you should exercise regularly. Then they said you should exercise 45 minutes a day, every day. Now they're saying actually you should exercise a little bit every day throughout the day. Even walking is an excellent form of exercise. So now we've understood that. Now we're all trying to do 10,000 steps a day, huff puff, and it's not so easy always. So, yet we also find that some people are very healthy no matter if they do any of these things at all or not. There was a joke that was once told about this, that there was a man who lived to be 105 in America, and so he was interviewed as to what was the secret of his longevity, because he was still in good health. And so he said to the interviewer, "Yes, it's true that I don't smoke, and I've never taken alcohol in my life, and I have a proper vegetarian diet, and I get plenty of exercise." And in the middle of this conversation, there was a huge crash from upstairs in his house. And he said, "Oh, never mind that. That's my father, drunk again." That some people don't seem to follow any of the rules, and yet they live forever and perfectly fine. And so keep that in mind also, if that has not been your experience. If you have been struggling with ill health, or you know somebody who's been struggling with ill health, it's not always a function of we need to think correctly, we need to behave correctly. If you would just follow the rules, all would be well. You see, there's other factors involved. And so first of all, let us not judge anyone for having poor health, especially if we have good health. All you need to do is have your good health taken away. I had that experience once. I don't know that I was judging others, but I couldn't relate to the frustration that happens when day after day, week after week, you're just not well. You take all the vitamin pills, you take all the kashayams and anything you can get your hand on, you get plenty of rest, and still the illness goes on. And so I had that experience of that feeling of helplessness, that you just have to wait for this fire to pass, and trying to think positive thoughts. It's true. Positive thinking will help us to improve our health. But it is not true that if we are unwell, it is because of negative thinking only. or lack of sufficient positive thinking. This is one of the problems in new thought or positive affirmation, is they say, if you were positive enough, you would not be sick. And you see, it's not that true. It's all in your mind. Someone said, Yoganandaji used to tell the story of one of these people who were very strongly affirming that there is no such disease. And so this woman who had a real problem went to such a person and said, I need some healing. But the doctor believed only in affirmation. And so when she said, I have this pain, and he said, you have no pain. And she said, no, I'm serious. I have had this pain for there is no pain. You have no pain. And she said, look, I understand what you're saying, but in addition to these mental methods, I'd like to know something about what's good. You have no pain. So as he was saying this, she was surreptitiously loosening her foot from her chappal. And then when he turned to the side, she took the chappal and whacked him on the head. And he said, oh my gosh, what are you doing? She said, you have no pain. And so, you see, we have to meet reality on its own level. So this is important. Some of us, a little bit of changing in our food habits would make a big difference. We should try that. For others, a little bit of more exercise that we can enjoy would help. For others, and I would say for all, a little more relaxation would help tremendously. One survey showed that 90% of doctors' visits for different health problems had all come from the source of the health problems was simply stress. It's amazing how much stress can cause injury to the body. We don't see that, we see the result. You can think of it as a vehicle, that if you run the vehicle with all kinds of slamming on the brakes and slamming on the gas and letting the oil run out of the engine because if you're in a hurry, then the machine starts to break down. And so it doesn't mean we can live peaceful lives always, but inside, the more we have of peace, the more we start to take the strain off the engine. One thing that is true of people who meditate, for example, is that in a survey of their physical health, people who had been meditating regularly for 5 years or more were up to 12 years younger in their physical health in terms of blood pressure and all the different things that are measured. So they had the health of someone 12 years younger than they actually were. I've been meditating for some time, and you can see I look good for someone who's 65. I'm not 65. I'm joking. I'm not. But you see, every time we try to relax, every time we meditate, every time we bring more energy into the system, we take some of that stress off the engine, off the heart, off the nerves, and it causes the machine to last longer and to run better. Now, one thing also to keep in mind about if health is just physical is that, for example, there are many saints, well, not many, but some saints who take no food. I'm sure you know of ancient stories of those, or perhaps more recent. There are some listed in Yoganandaji's autobiography of a yogi. 2 saints that he met, one in Germany named Therese Neumann, another in Bengal named Giri Bala. And these 2 women took no food. For many years, they were studied by doctors. People said, no, it's a sham. We know they must have a few idlis in their pocket. And no, there was no food all day long and so on. And for Giri Bala, it was interesting. She was eating too much as a young girl, and her mother said to her, don't eat so much. And so she was, and you're eating like a pig. And she was so offended that she said, I will never eat again. Wow. And she didn't. At the time Yoganandaji met her, she wasn't eating. She hadn't eaten for 15 or 20 years or something. You can read the story. So how can that be then if it's only food in its proper nutritional balance that sustains us? Could these women have had this experience, or others have had this experience? It wouldn't be possible if it were just physical. You see, we have to even understand what the body is. We tend to think of the body as an object. And certainly when you see a dead body, it is an object. But a body that is living is actually not a physical, inert thing. Because, think about it, we're constantly eating, we're constantly breathing, we're constantly taking elements, atoms, into our body, just speaking on a physical level. And these atoms, molecules they form our nails and skin and hair, and they create the physical body for a time. But then they also pass out of the body. We exhale, there's excreta from the body, we cut our fingernails and so on. And then those atoms, which probably started in the cosmic gases long ago when the universe was forming, those atoms move on. And so you see there is a constant stream of matter even, not to speak of energy, of matter, oxygen, carbon, and so on, flowing into the body and flowing out of the body. And so it is actually, the body is something in motion. And it's held together, this form is held together by a pattern of energy, a recipe, you could say. I was trying to think of a better illustration of this, and the best one I could think of, especially with Navaratri and Vijaya Dashami so close to us, is it's always nice at festival time to see the beautiful lit up, the Divine Mother or Lakshmi is all made huge on the street out of different colored lights. And I was thinking about that because you see the lights, you take some green lights, some red lights, some yellow lights, and you arrange them into a particular pattern, and then you light them up, and then there's Divine Mother, and it's beautiful. But then at the end of the festival, when it's time, then this is all dismantled and just brought back again. And you see, so just for that time, that image is held there by these different colored lights working together and the energy, the light flowing through them. It's held there, we see it because of the energy flowing through it, and it was designed in the mind of the artist, you could say, that thought made that pattern. And then later it goes away. So it is the same with our bodies. Even according to DNA, scientists used to think that DNA was a fixed formula. Whatever your DNA is. I think I'll take some water. That's better. Whatever your DNA is, that is the program, the scheme, the blueprint of your body, and the body will just generate itself according to that DNA. There's nothing you can do about it. No amount of smiling or positive thinking changes that DNA. Which is a strange thought because we notice that happier people, more joyful people tend to be ill less of the time. Sometimes people are busy, they're ill less of the time. Sometimes we say they're too busy to get ill. And so we know that when we're moving, then often disease can't settle. When we're cheerful, that we just say, oh, I'm somehow protected. We'll talk a little bit about that in some time. But in any case, now the latest research in DNA is showing that yes, the DNA is fixed, but it's more like a recipe that you can choose in this recipe which things do you want to add in and which do you want to take out. That sometimes there's kotamili and sometimes there isn't kotamili. Sometimes there's pavakai, sometimes no pavakai. And so, if it were my DNA, there would be less of pavakai. And so, I'm joking, I actually like it. But so, in this DNA, according to the way we use our bodies, certain genes can be turned off or turned on. Certain negative genes can be inhibited. That the recipe, again, though these are the ingredients, they're not all added. And so again, according to the way you live, even the way your DNA functions is different. So things are not as fixed as they seem. Then we have the other side. What is the ultimate example of someone always thinking positively, always aware of their union with the divine? Of course, a saint. Someone who's in samadhi, someone who has union with God. And yet, what do we know about so many saints' lives? They often manifest illness in their physical bodies. Now, in Yoganandaji's case, that was true. He had terrible trouble with his legs near the end of his life. And he explained very simply, I'm taking the karma of others onto my own body. I'm trying to help them by working out some of that karma, which would be very difficult for them, on my own body. And so he needed his disciples to carry him at one point because he couldn't use his legs. And he joked, some people have legs but can't walk all over the universe. That still you can travel even without the use of a body. But he was illustrating as Ramakrishna was. Ramakrishna at the end of his life was having throat cancer, a very painful cancer. And one of his disciples came to him and said, "Master, how are you?" And Ramakrishna began describing the constant agony that he was feeling in his throat, the constant fever that he could never sleep due to the pain. And the more he talked, the disciple started going into greater and greater ecstasy because he was feeling all this joy. And he said, "Master, please don't tell me anymore. I know how you're really feeling." And Ramakrishna said, "This fellow has found me out." Because though the body was suffering, he was not inwardly connected to it. And so we see that just the absence of illness is not health. It isn't to be desired. That's not always in our control, whether we're going to have illness. But how much energy we can bring, what our attitude can be despite that, that is something we can control. And just as the masters help to work out other people's karma through their own bodies, so that tells us too that the disease sometimes is a way of working out karma. It's a way of getting rid of karma. We'll try to talk about that also at the end if there's time, but I want to get into these techniques in a moment. But just to say one more thought about working out karma on the body, that sometimes an illness can be very helpful, because often it's illness that makes us think about our lives. It gives us time to stop and reflect. What am I doing? Sometimes we have a karma where we have to take a break, but we won't take a break because I have client. Because of the client is not taking a break, so I am not taking a break. Sometimes the client is our husband or our children who are constantly asking for help too, or our wife. So if we don't take a break when we should, then sometimes illness comes as a way of making us take a break. And then we are forced to look inside to try to go back into balance. Another thing that illness, a positive effect of illness, if we won't go back within, is that it forces us to go back within, meaning we can't be on all the time. We can't be running non-stop forever. If the pendulum in life swings this way, it has to eventually come back the other way. Summer comes into winter, thank God, especially right now. The weather is starting to cool off a little bit. More rains are coming. There is a season to everything. So we have seasons also. And so we have to balance the energy in one way by going in the other way. So outward energy has to be balanced by inward energy. Disease sometimes forces that on us if we haven't done it voluntarily. And again, one thing I want to make clear is that disease sometimes is just a way of working out karma. There was a saint who would heal people. She had a way, she was in Bengal, I think she was a young girl, and she would heal people. She had a way of just healing. And so her father had been chronically ill for some time, and her mother said to her, "You should also heal him." And her daughter resisted. Her daughter I think she lived in complete silence. In any case, she would write little notes on a chalkboard. And so her mother was saying, "You must heal him. He is your own father after all." And the saint wrote back and said she wouldn't. And finally, her mother said, "You don't want to heal him because you're thinking of it personally, that he's your father, and that if you were to heal him somehow it would be asking God for a personal favor. But you see, you are prejudiced against your father simply because he's your father. So in that way, you are still taking it personally." So what could the girl do? So she finally said, "Fine, I will heal him, but you will see what will happen." And so she cured her father, and her father got well, and then he left the family and began living a dissolute life. That illness was a way of burning off that karma, which wasn't completely burned off. And so because it ended prematurely, so then this happened. I'm not saying that if you get well, this will happen. So please don't misunderstand me. But I'm saying there are lots of angles to these things. There's another story in Autobiography of a Yogi of one man who went to Yoganandaji's guru, Sri Yukteswar, and said, he was an atheist, he didn't believe in any of these things, but he got sick enough to try anything. Again, sometimes that's helpful too. When what we think doesn't work, we're open to maybe I'm missing something. That's how I myself got on the spiritual path. I encountered not physical suffering, but emotional suffering that was so strong because of some outward disappointment that I said, I must be missing something because I had the whole world figured out and still this happened. So how did I miss it? And so that's what got me onto the teachings of yoga through this book, Autobiography of a Yogi. So this man was suffering enough to come to Sri Yukteswarji, and Sri Yukteswarji said very coldly, the man said to him, I want you to initiate me. And what Sri Yukteswarji said was, you should abstain from eating meat for 6 months. Then I will initiate you. And then he added cryptically, otherwise I won't have to. And so the man for 3 months was really good at following that protocol, no meat. And then after 3 months, he was feeling much better, and so he said, why not? And then he started eating meat again, violating the advice that had helped him to get well. Isn't it true? We find ourselves doing that. How often have I said, dear God, if you can please help me find the checkbook, I promise I will live a better life, I will always think of you, and so on. I need it right now. And then, oh, there it is, wonderful, thank you, and we run off, forgetting all of those promises that we were going to exchange for that. It worked. And yet still, then how often we can forget God. And so this man started ignoring that thing which had cured him. He started eating meat again. And Yoganandaji met him and he said, how are you doing? He said, I'm doing well. And you should know it is not by following your guru or his unscientific teachings. And then 3 months later, 6 months from the date of cure, he was in perfect health, but he dropped dead. And so you see, and it was unfortunate, of course, and yet the warnings were there. So we know there's more to this story than just what we follow. A lot of it depends on the power of our mind and how much energy we can bring into our bodies. How does that work? As I told you, the body is not a physical thing. It is a holding pattern of energy. It is a form. So remember that, a form held together by energy and thought. That's the pattern that keeps you in place. In a certain way, we're more like a cloud or something with a lot of energy flowing around it that is just a pattern, as I said, like a beautiful column just put together and held there for a time by that design and by that energy. So if we work with that design, if we change it through very powerful thought, you can have an instantaneous healing. What I'm saying is that's what explains how people can have instantaneous healings. There's a beautiful story of a woman named Anita Moorjani. You may have read her book. It's called Dying to Be Me. You can read the book, or of course these days you can just go on YouTube and watch the 15-minute version of her speaking about it. She had horrible cancer. She had tumors the size of lemons all inside her body. And I'm sorry, big lemons. American lemons, not this kuti little nimbu kind. And so she had a deep experience while she basically died on the operating table. So it's a near-death experience also, she describes. And then she came back with her attitude corrected. She realized that so much that her disease was entirely due, so she says, you can read the book, of absorbing the negative attitudes of others and allowing that to create a negative attitude in herself. You see, she wasn't blaming the others for having negative attitudes, that's their problem. But she was drinking it in and allowing it to poison her. She had one shift in attitude and consciousness, and she knew instantly that her body would be well. She didn't say anything because the doctor said there's no hope for you. She was an Indian living in Singapore. I think she had come back to India, I'm not sure, where this all happened. And within 3 days, after months and months of these huge cancerous tumors, they were all gone. The doctor said, it's just not possible. You know, did you take them out when we weren't looking? I mean, they can't just go away. But she knew if she changed her thought, this miracle could happen because she changed the pattern. She changed the recipe. Now, that also depends on other things than just positive thinking, but it shows that it's possible. And so the exercises we're about to do work with that pattern. The first one we're going to do is affirmation. These are some affirmations written by Yoganandaji to help awaken in us willpower. Because, as I said, we need to bring energy, but the secret to energy is willpower. If when Rajesh asked you, where is Rajesh? There he is. If when he asked you to get up and start and you said, okay, I am awake and ready. I am awake. What is it? I am awake. Then no energy would come. I am positive, energetic, enthusiastic. No, nothing comes. But you see, doing a little bit of that with willpower, suddenly it comes. Willpower, you can think of it as like putting the key in the ignition. You can have all the fuel in the tank of the vehicle, but if you don't have the key, you can't go very far. We need that key to light that spark, to start the engine, and then we can take off. And that key is willpower. A little bit of willpower can go a long way. So this first affirmation, just checking the time. This first affirmation written by Yoganandaji is this one. So, let us do this affirmation with a strong voice and with full energy. So first, just sit up straight. In fact, I'll do one more thing before we do this. Just as we did before, we're going to inhale and tense the body, but we're going to do it in a different way. The breath that we're going to do is a double breath. It is a short and long inhale through the nose, like that, and then a short and long exhale through the mouth. Okay? So short and long, like... Let's try that together. Inhale through the nose. Exhale through the mouth. Make sure it's short, long. Very good. That is called a double breath. Yoganandaji said this way of breathing brings in more oxygen than usual. And it releases more carbon dioxide than usual. It is a recharging breath. So now, to add to that, let's inhale with a double breath and tense the whole body. But we're going to tense low, medium, high tension, and then relax high, medium, low. Gradual tension increasing, gradual tension decreasing. Not just jerk the tension and then relax the tension. Okay? So let's inhale with a double breath and tense. Vibrate even the muscles you're tensing, and then exhale, relax. Okay, again, inhale, tense. Exhale, relax. One more time. Very good. If you remember just one technique from today, do this one. I have a friend who has a 90-year-old mother who will not listen to any piece of good advice that her daughter gives. But she said, you do this one exercise, you will feel better. No, I don't want it. She said, come on, mother, do this with me. And so her mother said, yes, I like this one. And so even at 90, she's doing these things and finding that she feels better. That's true, right? She's still doing? Okay, she's still doing the exercise. Very good. So remember this one. You can do it standing, walking, sitting. Inhale, tensing the body. Exhale, relax the body. Feel that you are recharging the body in a way that I'll explain in a little bit. So this is the affirmation. First, let me read it to you. Right beneath the flesh is tremendous current. By the pickaxes of self-realization, I have found that life force again. I and my Father are one. I am not the flesh. I am a bundle of electricity behind this body. So these are the words that Yoganandaji wrote, and we've explained that by now how this could even be true. And so if you need any other proof, just think about how when the body dies, the soul goes on. It goes on in an astral body, which you can think of as an electric body. You see it in the movies, right? When the person dies and then they get up out of their body and they look fine and they walk off the camera. That's the astral body. Of course, portrayed according to Hollywood or whatever it is, but still. So, right beneath the flesh is tremendous current. Let's say that together. Right beneath the flesh is tremendous current. By the pickaxes of self-realization, I have found that life force again. I and my Father are one. I am not the flesh. I am a bundle of electricity behind this body. Right behind the flesh is tremendous current. By the pickaxes of self-realization, I have found that life force again. I and my Father are one. I am not the flesh. I am a bundle of electricity behind this body. Very good. Here is another one. Let's do this together, first loudly, and then we'll do it more softly, taking it deep within. Now remember, when we say it loudly to awaken willpower, to awaken the conscious mind. Then when we take it in, we say it with the same level of energy, but its intensity. So we would be saying in this previous one, right beneath the flesh is a tremendous current. So quiet voice, but with focus, with concentration. You know, sometimes when you're telling someone a secret, you're using a hushed voice, but you're using lots of concentration. Now, don't tell anyone, but I have to say this one thing. So we use lots of power, but we're keeping our voice quiet. So in the same way, we're telling the secret to our mind to convince it. First loudly, though. I will my life to charge. With godly will, I will it charge. Through my nerves and muscles all. My tissues, limbs and all. With vibrant, tingling fire. With burning, joyous power. In blood and glands. By sovereign command. I bid you flow. By my command. I bid you glow. By my command. I bid you glow. I will my life to charge. With godly will I will it charge. Through my nerves and muscles all. My tissues, limbs and all. With burning, joyous power. In blood and glands. By sovereign command. I bid you flow. By my command. I bid you glow. By my command. I bid you glow. Now more softly, but with intensity. I will my life to charge. With godly will I will it charge. Through my nerves and muscles all. My tissues, limbs and all. With vibrant, tingling fire. With burning, joyous power. In blood and glands. By sovereign command. I bid you flow. By my command. I bid you glow. By my command. I bid you glow. Of course, as we've discussed, healing so often is necessary because of stress. And if we can work on the source of that stress, which is not the outer circumstances in our lives, though we often think of it that way. I had a doctor who was helping me to get better with some physical condition I was having that kept repeating. And I asked him, what can I do so that I don't have this problem anymore? He said, you can move to some beach and sit on the beach under a palm tree and you have elanir or coconut water constantly, then you will not have this problem. If you have a stress-free life of doing nothing. And he thought he was rather clever and I appreciated his joke, but I didn't appreciate the answer. because he was basically saying there's nothing that can be done. Life just leads to this kind of trouble. Now, I don't mean to speak against doctors. I have been helped myself by doctors. Swami Kriyananda was once asked at the end of his life, keep in mind he rarely had any help from regular allopathic doctors during the first part of his life. But at the end, he was on different heart medications and so on that kept him going. And someone in an audience said, isn't all of this allopathy just nonsense and chemicals and ridiculous and so on? And he said, we have to take a balanced view. He said, right now it is some of those allopathic chemicals that are keeping me alive. And he said, sure, I would love to do it through naturopathy. I would love to do it through Ayurveda. But I tried those things and they didn't work for this particular problem. So this is something that does work. So let's not be too militant against anything. And so I should mention, though, however, that when he was having some of the most acute heart trouble of all, he was having what is called atrial fibrillation, if you're familiar with that. It's when the heart beats very rapidly. It's very exhausting. It's hard to do anything. He said it's like living inside of a washing machine. Just you're thrown about, you can hardly do it, keep the mind focused at all. And furthermore, his heart had swollen and was enlarged to, it wasn't twice its normal size, but something close to that, which was causing a lot of strain and a lot of pain. And the doctor told him, you have to take complete rest for a year. If you go, he came out of this atrial fibrillation. The doctor said, if you go into it once more, you'll never come out of it, because your heart is built and is in such a condition, it can't correct itself. And he also said there's nothing you can do to release the swelling, for the heart to shrink. There's just no cure for that. So you have to live in this now inhibited state. That year, 1995, was the busiest year of Swami Kriyananda's life. He had to write so many books. He had so many troubles going on with the organization and so on. So much was asked of him in that year. But he gave it to God. He said, even if I die in God's service, so be it. I would rather be of use to my fellow man and serve my guru than just lie in bed. And in fact, he went into atrial fibrillation again as the result of all of this. And later, he came out of it. The doctor was stunned. And then the doctor did a scan of his heart and found that his heart had shrunk completely back to its normal size. And the doctor said, if I hadn't seen it, I wouldn't believe it. He said, it's just not possible with what we know from medical science. But it was possible nonetheless. So, as I was saying, we also can get stress from mental attitudes, from worries. So much of stress depends on our perspective. And we can't always think our way out of it. As I was saying before, if we're hit on the head by someone's shoe, the head hurts. And we can't just say, no, I have no pain. So this is an affirmation Yoganandaji wrote for psychological success. And think of this as sinking deeply into your heart. Let's sit up straight and let's close our eyes. But we're going to repeat this affirmation with great force of willpower. And then we'll say it more and more silently. I am brave, I am strong. I am brave, I am strong. Perfume of success thoughts blows in me, blows in me. I am cool, I am calm. I am sweet, I am kind. I am love, I am sympathy. I am charming and magnetic. I am pleased with all. I wipe away the tears and fears of all. I have no enemy, though some think they are so. I am the friend of all. I have no habits in eating, dressing, behaving. I am free, I am free. I am free, I am free. I am brave, I am strong. Perfume of success thoughts blows in me, blows in me. I am cool, I am calm. I am sweet, I am kind. I am love, I am sympathy. I am charming and magnetic. I am pleased with all. I wipe the tears and fears of all. I have no enemy. Though some think they are so. I am the friend of all. I have no habits. In eating, dressing, behaving. I am free. I am free. Now more softly in a whisper, but with great concentration. I am brave. I am strong. Perfume of success thoughts. Blows in me, blows in me. I am cool. I am calm. I am sweet. I am kind. I am love. I am sympathy. I am charming and magnetic. I am pleased with all. I wipe the tears and fears of all. I have no enemy, though some think they are so. I am the friend of all. I have no habits. In eating, dressing, behaving. I am free. I am free. Now silently repeating it just in your mind, concentrating at the point between the eyebrows, the Agya chakra. I am brave, I am strong. Perfume of success thoughts. Blows in me, blows in me. I am cool, I am calm. I am sweet, I am kind. I am love, I am sympathy. I am charming and magnetic. I am pleased with all. I wipe the tears and fears of all. I have no enemy, though some think they are so. I am the friend of all. I have no habits in eating, dressing, behaving. I am free, I am free. I am free, I am free. Let's just keep this thought in silence for a moment, repeating, I am free, I am free. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. I've spoken of willpower and also of energy. And the yogis teach that our body is sustained by cosmic energy, not just through food. Some of that energy comes through breaking down of food, but some of it can also be drawn into the body purely by willpower. This is how these women saints were able to go without eating food. Of course, some men saints too, but those are the two listed in the autobiography. The yogis, for example, Yoganandaji, could just simply look into the spiritual eye, command life force to fill the body. I would like to teach you that technique. I haven't learned it yet myself. And so what he gave us instead were a series of exercises to use willpower to draw energy in. How does this energy come into the body? The yogis teach that the point of entry into the body of this energy is at the back of the head, the medulla oblongata, the brainstem. Take your hand, if you like, and place it here at the back of the head. You feel that indentation there. It's almost as if, because there's an inward depression, it might even indicate an inward flow of energy. The yogis call this the mouth of God. The medulla oblongata is the first structure formed in the body once the cells subdivide and start forming into discrete structures. And the medulla forms first, drawing that cosmic energy. The brain grows in this direction, the spinal column down, and then the whole rest of the body is formed from that central point. This is the one part of the body physically that can't be operated on. Even if someone were to touch the medulla oblongata directly with a feather, it would cause instant death. It is our seat of existence, you could say. And so this is where we are able to draw cosmic energy in through the body. So whether you can consciously do it, you can visualize it, but as we tense and relax our muscles, as we've been practicing, try to feel energy flowing in to the body from around you. You see, we're not trying to recharge ourselves like a battery. A battery has a fixed capacity. It gets partially drained, we try to charge it back up, the cell phone. But with what we do with these exercises and with willpower, you can increase your battery's capacity, and it can last much longer. So if you don't mind, please standing up. Again, with these exercises, we may have to practice ahimsa when it comes to our neighbors here. So the first exercise is one we've already done while seated, most of us. Some of you did it while standing. Let's inhale and tense the body with a double breath. And then throw the breath out, relax. This time when you do it, feel that you're drawing cosmic prana in through the medulla oblongata in the back of the head. Feel that prana rise. Exhale, relax. You are living in a sea of energy. Let's do it again. Okay, very good. Let's also have an exercise of willpower in terms of how willpower helps us to draw energy. Take your right arm and then tense your arm, low tension, medium tension, and now high tension. So the arm is even shaking. Now tense it at maximum. And now tense it more. You see, isn't that funny? For most of us, we tense to maximum and then do more. How can you do more than maximum? There's no limit to how much strength we can summon through willpower. So remember that exercise of thinking, I'm at maximum and now I've just gone beyond. So, one exercise that is helpful. Take your hands, place them on your shoulders. Let's do large circles, rotating the shoulders in one direction, tensing up, relaxing down. Don't just wiggle your shoulders, but really lift them, and then reverse the circles. Tensing up, relaxing down. This works tension out of the shoulders also. Remember, tension is like an impurity, a blockage in the flow of energy. And as we relax tension, we allow that energy, that prana, to flow in the body. Another exercise, we're going to bring the chin to the chest and then inhale, tensing up with a double breath as we tense the neck like this. And then exhaling, relax. So inhale, tense up. Exhale, relax down. Inhale, tense up. Exhale, relax down. One more time. The next exercise, we're going to rotate the head with medium tension, not full tension. Don't hurt your neck, just light tension. Then reverse the circle. And now rotate again, but with no tension at all. Just lubricating the neck, drawing the energy in, and reverse. Okay. And let's repeat that exercise. You can also do it without the affirmation. This is called memory exercise or skull tapping. It's very helpful to do in the morning, and it helps you to wake up. It wakes up the brain. Believe it or not, it can actually get rid of a headache, though it seems like it might cause a headache. Swami Kriyananda was teaching these exercises all over the world, and it was only in Germany that he said, actually, don't use too much willpower, because people were banging on the head. He said, we're trying to go into super consciousness, not unconsciousness. Very good. And now taking the fingers, let's massage the scalp, moving the skin on the skull. This skin that's on your skull never moves unless you move it. All the other skin stretches as the body moves, but this never does unless you massage it. Help the blood circulation, help the energy flow to the brain. Okay, thank you. Please be seated. So remember this principle, that through willpower, through some movement, through some exercise, you can increase the flow of energy into the body. That's really what's happening. Suppose you're lying in a hospital bed and you can't do any of these exercises. Then you can do them mentally, because they depend more on using the will to draw energy. Then why why do we even do the exercises then? Because it's not always easy for us to just raise our willpower without some movement, without some affirmation. And so these are secrets and easy ways of using the body to stimulate our willpower and to increase this flow of energy. And as one of Swami Kriyananda's fellow monks and disciples of Yoganandaji, they were doing these exercises. This is one of them that you can do. And as they were doing them in the morning, the one disciple was saying, "Pump it in, Divine Mother, pump it in. Just get that prana into my body." It reminds me, I have to confess, I had a different experience doing these exercises. I decided while waiting for a train in Boston that I was going to do the energization exercises, and I didn't care if anybody saw me, because if I closed my eyes, then no one could see me. And so I was doing them, and I was feeling fine about it, because if they all knew the exercises, they would do them too. And so as I began doing this one again, I became aware of a presence to my left, and I opened my eyes, and there was a policeman, a very large policeman, looming over me as I was standing there going like this, and he said, "Are you getting ready to take off?" And so I have to admit I was horribly embarrassed. So anyway, so I shouldn't have been, though, because these things really do help. Once Swami Yoganandaji would have some of his disciples practicing these exercises in public, and they were very shy. And he said, people think it's strange only because they don't do it. So don't worry about that. If they all did it, they would understand and recognize it too. We should do what we can to feel better, regardless if other people agree, understand, whatever, as long as we don't want to impact other people negatively. But one of the only teaching of yoga is do what works. If you want to understand what is yoga, it is do what works. So do something and ensure that it works, and then find better and better methods that work. That's it. It's very practical. It has to be that way. So another technique of Yoganandaji's. I'd like to read you some of his words, because this is a very helpful thing. And as I said, I will send these to you after, if you give your email address. So let's sit up straight again and feel that Paramhansa Yogananda is here in the room speaking these words to you. This is about going on a worry fast. Worries are often the result of attempting to do too many things too quickly. Do not bolt your mental duties, but thoroughly masticate or chew them, one at a time, with the teeth of attention, and saturate them with the saliva of good judgment. Thus you will avoid worry indigestion. Do not feed your mind with mental poisons of worries. Learn to remove the cause of your worries without permitting them to worry you. If you are suffering from mental ill health, go on a mental fast. A health-giving mental fast will clear the mind and rid it of the accumulated mental poisons from a careless mental diet. Go on worry fasts. 3 times a day, shake off all worries. At 7 o'clock in the morning, say to yourself, all my worries of the night are cast out, and from 7 to 8 a.m. I refuse to worry, no matter how troublesome are the duties ahead of me. I am on a worry fast. From noon to 1 p.m., say, I am cheerful, I will not worry. In the evening, between 6 and 9 o'clock, while in the company of your spouse, or hard to get along with relatives or friends, mentally make a strong resolution. Within these 3 hours, I will not worry. I refuse to get vexed, even if I am nagged. No matter how tempting it is to indulge in a worry feast, I will resist the temptation. I must not sabotage my peace heart by shocks of worries. I cannot afford to worry. I am on a worry fast. After you succeed in carrying out worry fasts during certain hours of the day, try fasting 1 or 2 weeks at a time. Then, to prevent the accumulation of worry poisons, try to prevent the accumulation of worry poisons in your system entirely. Whenever you find yourself indulging in a worry feast, go on a partial or complete worry fast for a day or a week. Whenever you make up your mind not to worry, stick to your resolution. You can calmly solve your most difficult problems, putting forth your greatest effort, and at the same time, absolutely refusing to worry. Tell your mind, I am satisfied and happy that I am doing my best to solve my problem. There is absolutely no reason to worry. When you are on a worry fast, drink copiously of the fresh waters of peace flowing from the spring of every circumstance, vitalized by your determination to be cheerful. If you have made up your mind to be cheerful, nothing can make you unhappy. If you choose not to destroy your peace of mind by worrying about unhappy circumstances, none can make you dejected. Concern yourself only with the untiring performance of right actions and not with their results. Leave the results to God, saying, I have done my best under the circumstances. Therefore, I am happy. Before we close, I'd like to just touch lightly on another subject related to healing, and that is what we've talked about a little bit already, which is karma. So often, the source of disease, of things that we're struggling with, is coming from different karmas of the past. We, of course, may know this theoretically, and what I would like to say first about it is that we all have different kinds of karma, and so we shouldn't remember we have good karma too. So not to think of, if I have this, it's because of my karma, it's a curse, it's because I've sinned in the past and that's why I have to suffer. These are unhelpful thoughts. We've all sinned in the past. Yoganandaji, his guru, Swami Sri Yukteswar, said often, this is written in Autobiography of a Yogi, and Yoganandaji said this statement was his favorite statement in Autobiography of a Yogi, his own book, his guru's words. He used to say, forget the past. The vanished lives of all men are dark with many shames. Human conduct is ever unreliable until anchored in the divine. Everything in future will improve if you are making a spiritual effort now. So anytime somebody comes at you with saying this about the past, you just tell yourself, forget the past. What matters is what I do today. And don't indulge in any of this. Something bad happens in the family. I've heard this a lot, unfortunately. And they said, people have told me it's because of some sin of my ancestors or some sin of my father. In fact, someone said, they said to me, the sins of the father are visited upon the son. And I couldn't help responding, the sins of the father are visited upon the father. Because it was true. We each have to deal with our own karma. But don't get into that blame game. I think the reason why some people say it is because of your family's bad karma is because you can't explain why something totally horrible would happen, but you want to make sure it doesn't happen to you. So you say it is your own family's fault, not you all, but some people do say that. And so don't accept that when anybody says that. Offer them some tea, because then in drinking, at least they can't talk anymore. So all of these karmic tendencies, we all have this karma. And so what we want to do is overcome this karma, and how to do it. It takes a long time if we just do it outwardly, and we can't help doing it outwardly. But Yoganandaji said, every time you meditate, some karma is dissolved. You work that karma out internally. I would like to be able to explain how that happens. I can't really go into it in detail. If you know about the karma, karma is stored in the spine in vrittis, seeds of karma. And Yoganandaji said these seeds are roasted in the fires of concentration, and then they are burnt. And so, as you know, if you burn some fennel seeds, for example, and then plant them in the ground and water them, give them fertilizer with sunshine, what happens? Nothing. Because their energy has been dissipated by that burning. And so he says, roast the seeds of karma by concentrating here as you meditate. But even if you don't know that technique, any technique, he said, every time you meditate, some karma is dissolved. He said, the old brain cells are burnt up. It's a colorful way to put it. The old patterns of being are burnt up. So you don't have to work out that karma outwardly. You begin to work it out inwardly. This is a way to accelerate your spiritual growth by dealing with the source of the problem, which is these seeds of karma in the spine, dealing with them directly where they live, rather than trying to just address them outwardly, indirectly. And so meditation, any meditation technique from any spiritual path, is very effective in doing that. He also taught, as Babaji taught, this technique of Kriya Yoga, whose main purpose is to burn up these seeds of karma in the spine. And if you're interested in that, you can ask any of our volunteers or also come to our center. You'll see, in fact, this talk by Jyotishji and Deviji, our spiritual directors. Jyotishji is Swami Kriyananda's spiritual successor. And they will be coming to Chennai to 20 Mada Street, or East Mada Street, to this exact location, but just Kira, and in the main auditorium on November 12th. And their topic of their talk is Change Your Destiny Through Kriya Yoga. And this is a little bit of what I'm hinting at right now. We do teach this technique of Kriya Yoga, if you've heard about it or if you're interested in learning that, or other meditation techniques that Yoganandaji taught. And again, they work with burning out these sources of obstruction, these imbalance of energies, these disharmonies that we have in ourselves. They right them. And you work it out just inside through meditation. This is why you see people meditate even a week, and you see more light comes into their face, more relaxation comes, stress drains out of the face, because they're feeling more peace inside, and yet that allows more energy to flow. It isn't that they just become just like a soggy dosa or something, just, I feel so much peace. Not that at all. Be a crisp dosa. I'm sure there's a better metaphor than that one. Okay, so it feels like it's time to finish up now. So one technique, this of course is heal yourself and others. So how does this relate to others? One simple teaching is obvious. You find anything that works for you, try to share it with others. And it will have much more power because you'll be able to say, I do this. And it works for me. Now be aware that it may not work for them. They may not be interested. So don't, beat someone trying to help them. If you don't believe me, just know what it's like when people do it to you. You should be doing this. And so, well, maybe I will, maybe I won't. So, I have practiced Kriya Yoga for over 20 years, and I can say it has helped me tremendously. It has made me a completely different person than who I was when I began, and for the better. So, in terms of healing others also, as we heal ourselves, we become a source of healing to others. For one thing, if we are in less pain, we are less cranky. And if we are less cranky, then the people around us are also happy and grateful. That suddenly we are smiling more. So many fights at the home. You know what the source of the fight is, no matter what the language? I am tired, you are tired. That's the whole fight. I am tired, you are tired. And so you just get some rest, do some yoga, do some meditation, then you won't at least have your part of that argument. I am not tired, so I don't mind doing whatever this unreasonable thing is you've just asked. I can manage it because I have energy. So you see? So I will get out of a fight because I'm thinking what I'm really saying is I am tired. That's it. Not how dare you ask me that after the day that I have had. It's okay. Just let it go. I am tired. If I fight this one thing, there will be a big fight. And if I just go along with it, there will be no fight. And then it'll save a lot of time. So in this thing, what we want to do then is to be a source of positive influence on others. Don't worry if they are a positive influence on you. That would be nice. How to get everyone around you to be positive. I have not discovered that technique. I don't know that it exists, though we all try. You should be more positive. But as we start to become more positive, as we start to become more calm, others start to feel that. It helps them to be calm. I'm sure you have a calm and positive person in your life, a person you like to just sort of stand near, that you absorb some of that strength. So you can be that same person. You can be that source of strength to others. Of course, we're not the source, but a channel. Lahiri Mahashaya was asked by a disciple, could he heal him of his blindness that he had from birth? And he said, Master, can you heal me? And Lahiri Mahashaya said, someone has put me in an awkward position. I have no healing power. And the disciple said, but the God which resides in you can certainly heal me. And Lahiri Mahashaya said, that is a different story altogether. Why shouldn't the God that lights the very stars of the universe also bring light into your eyes? And he gave him a certain procedure to follow, and in 7 days the disciple removed these compresses from his eyes, and he could see again. I mean, for the first time, actually, since birth. So remember that we want to act as channels for healing power. We don't want to be the source of that healing power. Partly because if you try to be the source, you will find your own energy drained. But also that the healing will be much greater if you allow it to flow through you. Now, of course, when you act as a channel for healing, it also heals you. And there is a shrine in France called Lourdes, or Lourdes, spelled as Lords, where a great saint was. And there are many healings that have happened there. And so a scientist sent them all, people who claimed to have visited there and been healed, a questionnaire saying all these things, trying to see if he could draw a correlation. And he said, what were you doing at the time that you were healed? This was one question. They all answered the same. He said, what were you doing when you noticed that you had been healed of your own problem? And they all said, I was praying for someone else. So as you pray for others, that healing energy also heals you. Just like sending water through a hose. It cleans the inside of the hose. We don't care. We're trying to get the water to the garden, but also the hose is washed. So try to be a channel of healing that way. Yoganandaji said the channel is blessed by that which flows through it. So this is one technique that he taught. This is called healing prayer technique. It is for sending energy to someone at a distance. When do you use this technique? Whenever you want to offer help to someone, whenever you want to send healing to someone, and whenever you are worried about someone. I have one relative who always worries about her children. Her children are fine. You know, they're over 30 years old and doing quite well, but she worries about them because what if a piece of Mars were to break off and sail towards this Earth and land on their house? The insurance would not cover it. She's always worrying. And so she, as a result, doesn't sleep, hardly at all. And as a result of sleeping only a few hours each night, she suffers a lot of illness. And as a result of that, her children worry about her. And so I was trying to convince her, just try to meditate. No, I don't want to meditate. But I should have suggested this. When you worry about someone, you only injure yourself. But if you pray for someone, you are sending them energy. One man died, floated up out of his body, so he said, and then hit the ceiling. And then wondered, is someone coming for me? I mean, he just was there for a while. Then he saw the nurse come to the bed, see that, oh my God, from the machine that he was dead. And she took his pulse and she felt no pulse. And she immediately said a prayer for him. And he said at that moment, 2 angels appeared and then brought him upward. And he realized that he hadn't lived a very good life. And but just the act of her praying for him was able to bring him upward. And then, of course, he came back down again to tell us the story. Otherwise, how would we know? But the point is, he lived a better life after that. But the point I'm trying to make is that her prayers had an effect. We don't always see the effect, although there have been lots of studies of people in the hospital who are prayed for recover more quickly than the control group of people who aren't prayed for, even if they don't know they're being prayed for. Isn't that amazing? Because you would say, oh, yeah, they know they're being prayed for, so they feel better. No, they don't even know it. And still, statistically, significantly, they get better quicker. So, this is the technique. We're going to draw energy into the hands and then send that energy out through the hands, chanting Om 3 times. And we're going to do different things with the hands to draw that energy in, as Yoganandaji taught. So again, let's sit up straight, roll the shoulders back, chin is parallel to the ground, and visualize in your mind someone you know in need of healing. Someone who you would like to send healing energy to. It could be a friend or colleague, a family member. It could be just someone you saw on the street today who could use help. Visualize this person strong, healthy, protected. Don't concentrate on their present disease or difficulty, but see them having moved beyond it through using their own strength and through divine blessings. See them surrounded by God's light, filled with that light, the cleansing light, healing light. See them surrounded in a sea of harmony, moving with the rhythms of God. And let's bring our hands together, and first thing we're going to do is say this prayer. If you feel to say it out loud with me, please join me. Divine Mother, Thou art omnipresent. Thou art in all Thy children. Manifest Thy healing presence in their bodies, minds, and souls. Now we rub the hands together, drawing energy into the hands. And then send that energy out, chanting Om 3 times. Om. 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 Let's do the prayer again. This will have a second part of the technique. Divine Mother, Thou art omnipresent. Thou art in all Thy children. Manifest Thy healing presence in their bodies, minds, and souls. Now we swing the arms, in this particular motion like a dynamo, drawing power into the arms and then rubbing the hands together, using that power, sending it out again, chanting Om 3 times. Om. 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 Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Before we close, I wanted to offer one last thought, especially if you've been struggling with illness for quite some time, because it's very easy when we don't have that to just think that we'll never have it, or that if somebody has it, well, it's their problem, and so on. And so that sometimes there are just karmas that have to run their course. When you have good health, you never you never think of it. But when you have bad health, and as I said, no matter what you do and it persists, even again, bad emotional health, forget the body, but just plagued by this particular worry or suffering, I try to get rid of it and still it comes. Remember, even that is a karma, and every karma is finite. It has a beginning and an end. We want to accelerate through it, but still, there is the saying in the Gita that as fire is obscured by smoke, and as a mirror is obscured by dust, and as the embryo is enclosed in the womb, so the wisdom of the soul is encased by the 3 qualities, or the 3 gunas. And it's not always easy to understand what exactly is meant here. And Yoganandaji said that it is sattva guna that obscures the light of God. And it's very easy to get rid of. Just smoke in front of fire, you just one little puff and it's gone. Then Rajoguna, obscures, is like the dust on a mirror, that with such a thing you have to work hard to wash it off and clean it. It's not as easy as a puff, but still, with a little bit of effort, you can get it perfectly clear again. But with the Tamoguna is like the embryo enclosed in the womb, that no amount of anything can accelerate that process. It is a 9-month journey, and it is just going to take its own time. And it will, however, come to completion. And so we have sometimes the sattvic karma that is really spiritually elevating. We can have rajasic karma, that if we just work hard, we can make it through it. But sometimes the karma we have is heavier, and it just has to take its own time. We should be positive, we should try to be cheerful, but we should accept that if we're doing the right thing now, that's the most that God is asking of us, and that is the best possible solution. And then, in time, we'll see it end. We have a friend, Nayaswami Devarshi, who was walking and immediately felt sharp pain in his foot. And he went to the hospital, and the doctor checked his foot and said, "There's nothing wrong with it." And he said, "No, but it hurts." And they said, "Listen," they did x-rays, nothing. They did all kinds of probing. They found nothing. And so he still was in a lot of pain. They said, "Try to stay off your foot. Try to be careful." He did those things, and then the pain went away a little bit. But whenever he would run, and he loves to run, the pain would come back. And so eventually it got so bad, he went back to the doctor. They did, again, CAT scans and MRIs, everything. They said, "There is nothing wrong with your foot. It's just in your head." So he went on. This went on for some years. Whenever running, whenever exerting, he would get this pain, and he could feel something is there. But they kept saying, "Look, nothing is there." So then once he started doing his own little remedies, and to the point with the foot, and trying to heal it, and that wasn't working. Under his begging, they did exploratory surgery, cut open the foot. They said, "Sir, there's nothing wrong, okay? You're just something, I don't know if it's a nerve problem, but you're making it up." And so this, I think it was 9 or 15 years of this. I think it was maybe 9 years. Let's say 9 years. And he was in the bathtub, just taking a bath, and he was touching his foot, and he felt a lump suddenly. That as he was moving his foot, there was a little bit of a lump sticking out of his foot, and when he pressed on that lump, it hurt. And so he took his foot over to the doctor and said, "Right there's a lump. Do something about it." And they just cut it. Don't worry, it's not gross. Okay, it's not bad. But they cut his foot just a little bit, and they pulled out a 1.5 inch length of glass. It was a tiny sliver of glass, not tiny, really long, really thin, that had been in his foot that whole time, and nobody could see it. And he said, "The lesson I got from this is that karma ends." So remember that whatever struggle you're in, karma definitely ends. And the more positive you are, the more you can mix with positive people, come to things like this, meditate, do all the things that make you cheerful. You can help yourself move through it much more quickly. God bless you.